paper you sat was a mix of paper 1 and paper 2 from May 2023 this year. Okay. The first thing to mention is that it was out of 87 marks, which is roughly the same as the real deal, because the real deal is 88 marks in 90 minutes. So question number 1 was a nice simple one. It was a 1 mark answer asking you to which one of the following is a natural factor affecting climate change. The answer there was volcanic activity. Okay, that emits CO2 emissions and also affects the amount of heat being trapped in the air because of the cloud reflecting sunlight, etc. So it was a nice and easy 1 mark answer D. Question 2 then I asked you to look at this graph, and it said the question was, using figure 1, which of the following statements is true? Shade 1 circle only. And the answer for that one was that the sea ice reached its smallest extent in 2012. You can see there, 2010, 11, 12, just here is the smallest extent. So that was answer 1.2. And then using figure 1, how much did the extent of sea ice change between 1980 and 2016? If you looked at 1980, it was over here, and 2016, the few of you made that mistake. It's not there. 2016 is over here. So the difference between the two is 7.5 minus 4.5 is 3. Okay. That's the first 3 questions. The next one, that was a figure you were given, and it said suggests how climate change may have effects on people. And the key thing there, a few people who lost their marks there. The only reason they lost their marks is because you had to talk about effects, and you had to talk about people, not environment, not economics, just people. So predominantly social impacts. Okay, to get a 4 mark answer there, you needed to make 2 points, and you needed to explain them twice. So that would be 2 AO1s, 2 AO2s. Please don't describe the handout. There's a few of you who just stated the obvious. The examiner can read. So there's actually no need to repeat and rehash what's on the map. Okay, you actually have to make a point and develop it. So you could make an example saying, well, actually, areas, most continents will be at risk of flood damage. You can see it there. Okay, and then explain how that would affect people. The flood damage will force people to move. It might force communities to relocate completely. Flag behind me of the week is Tuvalu. Tuvalu, for instance, they've just signed an agreement with Australia, where they're going to they have access to a new visa that allows them to resettle because the country is going to disappear under sea level, etc. Okay, so that is, you make your point of sea level rise, you explain how, you do that twice, you pick another one, any other, you explain to me the impacts. Okay, best ways to encourage you to get that AO2 and that explanation is to use connective likes as a result. This means that therefore. So if you make a point and say as a result, if you make a point and say, for example, health problems as a result, this means that. Furthermore, using those connectives will ensure you get those 4 out of 4 grades because you deserve them and it's easy to get. Right, next one there is, for the first time ever in the history of GCSE, there was a question about the global atmospheric circulation model. And this was a really nice one. It was a 3 mark answer. You didn't have any words to choose from, but they were all in the diagram. The question said air from the equator rises and moves towards the poles, then cools down and sinks at approximately, you literally just had to follow there. Some of you got it wrong. God knows how. It sinks here at 30 degrees, north and south. Okay, that answer was 30 degrees north and south of the equator. The air sinks, creates an area of, written here, high pressure. All you had to write, high pressure, with very little rainfall. Some of the air moves back to the equator as surface wind, called, again, follow the diagram, trade winds. Bingo, it was the gift, okay? You just have to pay attention to the figure. I can't say that enough, okay? You then had a hefty figure there with maps about tropical storms, different dates, different tropical storms, their names, and the number of people it affected and unfortunately killed. So figure 4, which statement best described where tropical storms form? The answer there was a no-brainer. It was obviously the tropics. You can see it in the map here. It's all within the tropical region between tropical Capricorn and Cancer. Then 01.7, it said, using figure 4, name the tropical storm which causes the greatest number of deaths after the year 2000. And that caught a few people out. After the year 2000, you can see them there. Best way to do it was to highlight them. The one that highlighted the most, you can see there, they're in order, Nagis in Myanmar. No, don't write Myanmar, it's not the name of the storm. It was Nargis. Okay. It then said calculate the median number of deaths caused by tropical storms. The median is the middle number, so you had to put them all in order and calculate the middle number. And the middle number was so it was between 11,400 and 6,200. So it was 8,800. Okay, it's between the two. over here. So you had to just put them all in order, which is done for you, and find the middle number. Okay, the mode is the most common number, and the mean is the average. So that was just basic maths you need to revise. Okay, outline one reason why the number of deaths caused by tropical storm varies. Again, you had to make a point and you had to explain it. It's a 2-mark question. I know it says one reason, but you have to explain it's a 2-mark question. Simple one could be population density. It's harder to evacuate. It's likely to be more victims. Boom. AO1, AO2. Explanation, description, explanation, easy. And then the last one there, I think it was the last one, was it? Not quite actually. We had a cyclone shelter in Bangladesh. You had a super cyclone storm and a map over here. And the question said, to what extent can protection and prediction strategies reduce the effects of a tropical storm? Now, I'm not gonna lie. In our school, we've developed some literacy maths where we look at how, on the whole, what are the usual questions and command words for 6 marks and 9-mark questions. To what extent is it an unusual command word for 6 mark? But you know what it means when you have it at 9 mark. You have to compare. You have to evaluate. The best way to evaluate here, it says protection and prediction. You say protection is the most effective strategy because, however, its limitations are, and therefore prediction can do the job, and vice versa. Okay, a few of you talked about preparation and planning. You can. The mark scheme said you could be rewarded for it, and personally, it's a massive risk. I only gave marks there because the mark scheme said so. I feel that that's cheating. I personally wouldn't give you the mark if I had to choose. Okay. Also used to ask figure 5. So the best way I'd plan it. To what extent question means that you have to have a piece structure, 1 paragraph piece structure. Okay, so I'd have said prediction is you explain is being able to guess where the storm is going to go and guess its path, based on computer models, etc. For example, you could say using past historical data or using satellite imagery, and you say this reduces the effects of a tropical storm because it will allow you to evacuate people in advance. Therefore, there'd be less victims. However, fully aware that it's a prediction, it might not happen, and you might also get it wrong. So you might have evacuated the wrong type of people. Therefore, protection would do a better job because protection would ensure that people are in a safe location. In figure 15, you can see it there. It's the cyclone shelter. Therefore, protecting their lives. In the case of Bangladesh, it's a solid structure that is purposely built, therefore more likely to save people who live in infrastructure that might not be the best quality. Okay, nice and simple. That's all you needed to do. Okay, prediction, what is it? Example of prediction. Explain what prediction is. Counterpointed by saying why prediction isn't perfect and how protection can make it better, and explain how prediction can save their lives. Full marks, 6 out of 6. You've used a figure. Okay, amazing job. And the last one, again, I put it in there because honestly, I thought it was a ridiculous question when I saw the exam come out last year. Asking a 9-mark question with a suggests command word is nuts. Just because suggest isn't inducive to a massive discussion. Okay, suggest is usually what you get in 6-mark questions. So when you get a 6-mark suggest, we tell our students to write 2 PEE paragraphs: point, explanation, explanation. So 2 explanation in essence. In this case, it works quite well because it's a 9-mark question. You've got three tectonic plate margins. If you did a PEE paragraph for each plate margin, it'd work a treat. Okay. But the key thing there is you have to talk about earthquakes and volcanic activity. You have to talk about both. Okay. You also have to explain the processes taking place. If you just describe the plate margin, you're not answering the question. Okay. So by that, for the first one, it's a constructive plate margin. Plates move away from each other. Okay. That's your point. Explain, because they move away, magma rises through the gap and is forced through the gap, creating volcanoes like in Iceland. That's the first explanation. The reason they move away from each other is because of a process called convection currents, and you have to explain what convection currents do. Hot magma rises. As it rises, it reaches the crust. As it can't go any further, it moves to the side and it pulls along the plate above it. Okay, you have to explain convection current. Paragraph number 2, destructive plate margin. Same idea. Tell me what a destructive plate margin. You've got a continental plate and an oceanic plate. The oceanic plate is denser, it's heavier, so it subducts underneath the continental plate. Okay. In doing so, there's a buildup for pressure. Pressure can be released, causing earthquakes, and as the magma melts, all the carbon that is stored at the bottom of the ocean that sinks into magma, it gasifies, increases in pressure, and explodes through a volcano. Okay. Another thing you can talk about there is that the oceanic plate is actually pulled into the mantle through slab pull theory. Okay, slab pull theory is a concept whereby gravity pulls the plate downwards, and as it pulls it down, it goes down faster and faster and faster until it breaks off. And when it breaks off, it creates more magma, increases pressure, releases volcano. Okay, so point it was a good destructive plate margin and concept of subduction. The explanation is telling me how it creates earthquakes and volcanoes, and your other explanation is explaining and mentioning slab pull theory. Okay. And the final one for the conservative plate margin, you have no volcanoes there. It's a massive misconception. You cannot have volcanoes there. You have volcanoes in destructive, constructive, not at conservatives or transform. It occurs when two plates move at similar, in the same direction at different speeds or in opposite directions. Think of your knuckles moving together that way. It's the exact same process, okay? And as it does so, there's a build-up of pressure, and then eventually the pressure is released and the energy is released, and that creates your earthquake, okay? So there you just had to make a point and use the keywords of pressure, energy, and release, okay? You did all that, you would have had 9 marks. But so many people got stuck on 6 because they did a beautiful explanation of all plate margins, explained everything, but did not mention convection currents or slab pull theory. It makes a clear answer, it doesn't make a detailed answer. So you're stuck in level 2 answers. Okay, that's for the hazard section.